Welcome, welcome. This is Vonda, and you're tuned in to Mo Money Mondays. We are still at the new year, so I can officially still say Happy New Year. So, here on Mo Money Mondays, we talk about all things money, all things business, helping your money make sense is really what we do. You are tuned in to All About Us Radio, and I am delighted that you are here. So tonight is special. Every Monday night is special. Okay, let's be real. Every Monday night is special, but tonight is really, really special. And, I really wanted to focus this year, or at least kicking off this year, with, really talking to millennials, supporting them in business, assisting them in any way that I can in business. Our younger generation has been described as all sorts of things. But ideally, they are the most purpose driven and potentially the most entrepreneurial generation of all. I mean, over all previous generations. That is really incredible. And I know the jury is still out on that, but I have been meeting some amazing young people left and right. And so tonight, I'm so excited. So tonight, I have a star, a superstar in the budding. Okay, y'all. So get ready because you'll be able to say, when she's got her own show, that you saw her here on Mo Money Mondays, talking and speaking about her business and how she did it and how she is so successful. So we have a young chef, an entrepreneur. She's an author, a curator, and an instructor. And she is taking Atlanta by storm. Out of Georgia, tonight we have the pleasure of sitting with Chef Za. She is in the house. So let me just tell you a little bit about this millennial African queen sister, okay? Chef Za is famous for helping people experience what she calls the indescribable joy of cooking gourmet meals using fresh ingredients. How about that? Now, that part I really love. We all love that. We're all trying to be just a little more healthy. She has curated a signature virtual cooking class known as the Prep to Plate Experience, and I have been following that just a bit. And her mission is to help you experience your inner chef from the comfort of your own kitchen. How innovative and brilliant is that? So please help me welcome Chef Za of Zaza's Kitchen. She's here in the house.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. And
Hey
thank you for the
there.
lovely introduction.
And all true, wouldn't you say?
I think
All
so.
true. All true. All true. So if I may ask, because this is one thing that I don't know, Chef Za, how old are you?
I'm 24.
Oh, what a great age. 24. She's so beautiful.
Oh, thank
She's
you.
brilliant and beautiful, wouldn't you say? So I would kind of dig a little, but I'm just going to share some of the stuff that has intrigued me, if that's okay. And you can pick it up
Sure.
along the way if you'd like. Uh, so I've already shared. We were in the chat room, and I told her, I had to be honest. I have been going through all of her social media most of today. So if nothing else, you must follow this young woman. Her social media is off the chain. And she's recently sold out of, she's got a cookbook. How about that? And
Yes.
you've been in business now for how many years? Since
Since 2018.
2018. You've got a
Mhm.
virtual cooking class. Anyway, I have lots of questions, lots to talk about. I know that you recently won a cooking competition. Can we start with that just a little bit? Because that was fascinating.
You really did your research if
I
you've done.
really did. I watched it all. I think I watched
Oh,
it twice.
oh
It
really? Oh,
was,
you saw it on YouTube?
I did. I
Oh
did.
wow, thank
She's got
you.
stellar social media, you guys. Really amazing filming, and she is her own social media director. So
Yes,
He wears many.
yes, yes. Well, thank you so much for that support. But so the cooking competition, it was my first cooking competition, and this organization, this organization called Women That Bloom. It's a nonprofit located in Atlanta, and they empower women to just professionally develop and be their best selves, in all facets of life. And so they do this annual fundraiser. And so it's a brunch themed fundraiser, and they wanted to do Top Chef edition. And so they found me on social media, and then they messaged me and they were like, "Oh, like, are you interested in doing a cooking competition?" And me, I'm like, I saw myself doing cooking competitions, but I didn't really anticipate it to be so soon. Um, and I was on board. And so we got the secret ingredients before the competition. And so I love that because I had the range and time to really just explore what I wanted to
Mm.
do. And it honestly re-inspired me to do that because, I could have come up with something on the spot and I don't even know what that would have been. But being able to just tinker recipes, I love developing recipes. It's one of my favorite things to do. But being able to tinker recipes and have my own creative range was really great. And I think of myself as a chef, but I'm also the founder of a business. And so those two don't always meet because my aesthetic and food taste isn't always what I'm going to teach in a class. What I teach in a class is more so catered to my audience. But me as a chef, I think I approach food in a little bit of a more original way, I would say. And I think that would be, I think you're fine. I think that would be a great way I think it was a great way for me to really showcase my imagination with food and showcase how original I am and just how I pair different flavors and the flavor profiles I develop. And it's funny because a lot of people ask, like, what kind of food do I cook? And I don't always, I hate that question, like, not to be rude to anybody, but it's just so difficult for me to answer because I like a little bit of everything and I'm inspired by a lot. And so the cooking competition was a way for me to kind of mesh all of that and then put it on a plate. And so the secret ingredients were rhubarb, strawberries, sweet potatoes, and sugar. And the dish that I developed was a chai spiced French toast stuffed with sweet potato mascarpone, topped with macerated strawberries and ginger. And then I did ginger fried chicken bites. So
Wow.
it was
What
really fun.
what is macerated?
Okay, so when you're little and you eat strawberries and people douse sugar on them and the sugar creates this syrupy kind of thing?
Yeah.
That's what that is.
Okay,
So
that's great.
yeah, it's just the culinary word for it. So I took strawberries, rhubarb, a little bit of strawberry rose vinegar to give it a little bit of acidity. It was like a sweet vinegar. It was a different thing. And then I did orange juice, vanilla extract, and it was hibiscus infused too. So
Mm.
it was fun. That was a fun dish. Like I
I
have to
watched
bring it
people
back.
eat it, and it was like they were like, "You had me. I was there."
Thank you.
And,
Thank
the
you.
editing was really great. The food looked wonderful. So congratulations on your win.
Thank
Really,
you so much.
congratulations. That's really big. But I saw you in the beginning talking to everybody in your car. You cleaned that. She's like, I knew just by hearing you. But I really loved that you brought us in to be with you in
Mhm,
your preparation, in your
mhm,
brainstorming, and you were so vulnerable. She shared what worked, what didn't work, what she liked, what she didn't like, the colors wrong. That was so cool. I mean, I
thank
I don't know that
you.
I've ever seen that before. In that process, folks usually just show us their success as
Mhm,
a culmination towards the main goal.
right.
So that was really interesting. I thought that was incredibly smart.
Thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to showcase it because it was just such a new experience for me. And I think online is really important in social media because it's a place for me to build a community with my business and with my art. And so being able to take people on the process, I felt like the process was kind of equally as important as the competition itself. But had I not filmed it, people wouldn't have known like how significant I guess the evolution of what I was going to make was. So
And
I
we got to know
appreciate
you.
that because that was my first vlog and it was a fun experience. So
Wow. That was your first? Okay, that was pretty darn good for your first.
thank you.
So, what inspired you to begin Zaza's Kitchen? I know you are a Spelman graduate. I mean, did you major in culinary? How did you get here?
Right. I have a really loopy roller coaster story. So it
Oh, we love
began.
Ruthie.
Yes, no, it's really ironic. Like a lot of times I'm like, it's really crazy. And I'm grateful for how everything's turned out because I think I've always been on the road here, but I didn't always see it. Because when I was little, I always wanted to be a chef. Like you talk to me, people are like, I want to be a policeman, I want to be a firefighter. I was like, I want to be a chef. And it's so crazy because one of my elementary school friends recently commented, like, it's so crazy that like I'm so happy to see what you're doing because I remember you telling me this when we were in fourth, fifth grade. And I'm like, wow, like that was just a full circle moment for me to hear that. And so I've always been inspired by food. I've always watched Food Network when I was a kid. And so that was my world. And I went to a boarding school for high school. And so going to boarding school, it was a very like academic experience. And I think it taught me like a lot of leadership and really how to balance like that work life aspect. But I didn't really embrace cooking as an art form. I didn't even really cook in high school, honestly. Like when I came home on breaks, I would cook. I more so cooked like when I was in middle school. My first job actually right out of middle school was at a restaurant. I was like not really a line cook. I would say like a junior line cook, but I would prepare people's food at like 13 years old. And so that was a family friend's business. And her name is Amira Watson. She's been a mentor to me. And so just being able to like understand her career and see like this is something I can do. So I graduated from high school, went to college, and at first I was majoring in environmental science because I took this environmental science class I loved in high school. And it's all gonna make sense at the end. Took this environmental science class I love. I just love understanding how the world works and how us as people interact with it. And so I was interested in like Monsanto and understanding about farming and the food industry because you learn the food industry in an environmental class. And so I switched. I was like, I don't want to take science. I took sociology. And so sociology really gave me the platform to understand the world from a social lens and understanding like how race, class, and gender interact. And I had a very different research project. I was actually on the road to become a PhD, get a PhD, become a professor. I was in this like research program, and that was my life up until it wasn't. Like I took this food justice class my senior year, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I love this. I love this. Like understanding how farming works and why certain grocery stores are in black and brown neighborhoods and not in other neighborhoods, or understanding like grocery redlining and how food is cultural and it's gender and it's nostalgic and it's nuance in health and what does health mean to Black people. Like all these questions I think were existential questions I had, knowing like food was always deep down in my heart but I didn't articulate it. So that really got me going. And that same semester I started Zaza's Kitchen as a meal prep company. And so like I'm running this meal prep service and plate service while also being in this class, and I'm like, these two worlds have to come together. And so I went to school at Northwestern. I did a year and some change, and I was like, this isn't it. Like I don't feel fulfilled.
Mm.
I'm very much so an experienced person, very sensory. Like I hated it. I hated it. And so I was like, somebody asked me, they saw my attitude shift from the beginning to like a weekend, and they were like, what's going on? They were like, if you could do anything for the rest of your life, what would it be? And I said, I would cook. And so I think that really was like a reminder, like, okay, take this more seriously. Like you don't get all the time to just try it. You can try a lot of things, but like at a certain point, it's like if you know something's your purpose, you have to pursue it. And so I think that was kind of an aha moment for me to really go on with cooking. And so the two kind of overlapped. I stayed in school for a little bit to try to figure out, okay, maybe this could work. But then when the pandemic happened, Zaza's Kitchen kind of really had a fire ignited because I would go on live, I would cook, people would comment and really, really pay attention to like what I was doing. And then I had this series called cooking with what was it? Cooking with Chef Zah, and I would post my ingredients list. I probably archived all these posts,
I
but
think I was out. I think I was actually on one.
oh
I really
really,
do. Yes,
really,
back in the beginning of 2020, I feel like.
yes,
Yes.
that's it. That's it. So I would be on live. I would have my recipe posted. No, I'll have the ingredients posted in the supplies you needed. And so people would meet me like on Instagram. This is when we're all stuck in the house. And I would teach people how to cook on Instagram Live. We're going my half my screen, half their screen. They're like, Zah, am I adding this curry right? Am I doing this? Am I garnishing this right? And people who I feel like people in my age group, I'm kind of an outlier because I do cook and this is what I do, but a lot of people don't know how to cook. And so I think it was a really cool way to see people trying something new, getting out their comfort zone, which I'm really big on. Like, I'm like, we need to expand our palettes, but also do this in an accessible way. And so that's what the lives represented. And then one of my Spelman sisters, she asked me, she was like, hey, like, we're doing a Black History Month celebration at my job. Can you teach us do a cooking class? And that's when the private classes and corporate classes and then eventually kids classes began. So it all kind of just unfolded, and I'm very grateful of where it's been able to take me. Feel like the people who follow me in my community, they really help me down and support me. So that's kind of how it's all been happening so far.
I'm so proud of you.
Oh, thank
It's
you.
like, it's food literacy.
Exactly. I call it food education. And
Food
food literacy is a
education.
word that I write a lot. And
Mm.
you have to like remember your why. And I think I was just looking at some articles today about why do Black and brown neighborhoods have more fast food than white neighborhoods. And that kind of thing is food literacy, like understanding, well, that's more food justice, but I think food literacy is more so understanding the nutrition behind it. Like, why do we need to eat certain things? What does health mean? You know, that's food literacy. And I think, well, it's my hope through my platform that I'm continuing to share that with people in a more overt way, honestly, because I think through my recipes, I try to share it. Like, I'm like, okay, now we're gonna make lentils. Now we're gonna make, I don't know, like chimichurri. And a lot of these things are things people have never been taught. But as I'm teaching them, okay, this is how you chiffonade, this is how you dice, this is how you slice. It's like you're being able to have translatable skills for your everyday lifestyle and whatever that means for you, while also being able to try something that you may not have had before. So
It's so compassionate. You seem so compassionate. I mean, you have this love, this passion, and I follow you, and I'm like, it goes into your food,
mm,
and I see it. We feel it. We can tell. So, and that's not a given. It's so
mm.
interesting because when I was watching you, another person came on that was like a famous photographer, stylist, food stylist, and I was like, your stuff looked just as good.
Oh,
For a minute, I was like, wait, what am I? Where am I? Oh no, this isn't.
thank
I'm like,
you. I appreciate that.
no, really, it's so. I can't wait, folks. You've got to check it out. But so being so young in the industry, and I hope I can voice what I want to ask, because this is my curiosity.
Mhm,
As young people, understanding that entrepreneurship has a certain place that corporate does not offer, especially in sustainability and in passion when it comes to really fulfilling yourself and your heart with
mhm.
what you want to do in your work life.
Right.
So I love that more young people are starting their own and not even going the route that so many generations have had to trudge through. But how important in business and being so young, starting so young, because if you're 24, then you started when you were about what, 19 or 20, you started in business.
Mhm.
How important was it to have a mentor? And did you have a mentor or that kind of support?
I think I've always had mentors. I don't think I've always had mentors that were a direct alignment to what I did in every
Mhm.
step of the way. Um, a lot of my teachers became my mentors. My parents are mentors to me too in a way because both of my parents are entrepreneurs. And so I think they inspired me in I think it was a given I was gonna have my own business when I was younger. Like I wasn't the kid at the lemonade stand. I wasn't. I did cook a lot when I was younger, and I did say I want to be a chef. But in my mind, like being a chef was just about the food. I don't think I understood like the business component of it. I was like, oh yeah, I'll have a restaurant, like duh, you know. But growing up with like parents who kind of curated and created their own path, it was like very inspiring. And then in addition, I've had really amazing educators. Like some of my professors at Spelman, they're so life changing. And so I think them just really pouring into me. And back to when I was in the research program, that's where some of them were most associated with like what I did closely. And I remember the moment where I told one of my professors, who I considered like a maternal figure, that I wasn't gonna do it anymore. And I was so nervous. I was like, oh my gosh, like is she gonna hate me for not doing like the thing that she like
Mm.
nominated me for? And she was like, you know, if your heart and your mind and your spirit are not in alignment, like it's not supposed to be. And I like cried a tear of joy when she told me that. And it kind of just affirmed me that, you know, even though some mentors may seem like, oh, this is just for academia or this is just for college, it's like people, if they're meant to support you, they're going to support you at every stage. So I don't think I'm just getting to a place where I'm getting some mentorship. I don't know if I would say I have a mentor because I think that's a very strong word. And I have feelings about mentors too that I can share, but I think I'm in a place to be very vulnerable and honest where sometimes I like second guess how much I know, and then I'm being mentored and I'm like, oh, like I knew that, or oh, like this is something I could have come to more independently. But I think it takes self trust to understand like, okay, this is what I do know, but also this is what I don't know. And honestly, I've never worked in a restaurant in a super traditional sense. I've been like in fast casual, customer service slash making smoothie rolls and making salads, but never really in like a traditional Hell's Kitchen kind of situation. But sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, like I just want to go to culinary school. I just want to do this. I just want to do that. But I think there comes a point where you know more than you know, and I think it's important to like seek counsel on certain topics that I may not have as much experience in, and that's mentorship. But I think me being newer and like a career pivoter in a sense, um I'm still like solidifying like who do I want to really mentor me in the industry. Now family wise, I have an uncle who's a chef who's also an inspiration, and he's a mentor. Like I would definitely consider him a mentor. But I
Nice.
think in relation to really like the alignment of things, I think that's something that's still kind of ironing itself out.
Hmm. Well, I applaud you for developing business in this pandemic.
Thank you.
Um, you mentioned doing cooking online, or you were teaching folks how to cook. Now, that's an amazing business strategy, marketing strategy. How did you develop that? Like, how did they find you? What was
Right.
your yeah?
So I think the Instagram live is a lot of where it ignited, and then it just has kind of continued to unfold. Honestly, I am still trying to understand how to get more eyes on Zaza's Kitchen because I want the world to
Mm,
know about it. But marketing, I feel like being an independent business owner as of now, I would love to expand it to a team. But doing this alone, it's hard to like market and do the thing and cook and like show up, you know? So I think that's something I'm trying to figure out. I go to LinkedIn sometimes because it's like a different way to showcase what I'm doing in a more like business kind of way. I also go to Instagram, YouTube, TikTok is developing too, but I try to use those platforms as a way to advertise what I'm doing, but also to share recipes because I think for me accessibility is really important. And so even if somebody doesn't book a class, like they can still kind of get what I'm doing out of my content. And so social media is huge, but also as it relates to the cooking classes, a lot of it has been word of mouth, like a lot. It's kind of
that's
crazy. So
great.
yeah, so I'll do like a class for Spelman. Then there'll be like a Spelman alum who's like, "Oh, I want to bring you to my office," and then that person tells the next person, and then they have a kid, and they're like, "Oh, I want to have a birthday party." So I'm like, "Okay." So then like sometimes like one mama, sister, and mom, we did 8 cooking class lessons for kids. It was my favorite class. I can say that, and they know that. I'm like, y'all are my favorite. Like I taught 15 children over the course of 8 weeks how to cook, and they were between
Ah,
the ages of like 8 and
Okay,
15.
give us an idea of something that you did with the children. What did you guys
So,
make?
so this was my favorite moment in the whole class. So we're making chicken, roast carrots, and mashed potatoes.
Okay.
And I told them, I'm like, y'all need to learn to cook without recipes. Like, eventually, you can't always depend on these things. So we're making mashed potatoes. We boiled our Yukon Golds in chicken broth. That's my little tip for you all. Use chicken broth for your mashed potatoes. But
Oh.
we were boiling it on chicken broth, and then we're mashing by hand. Like, I believe you have to know how to do certain things without tools and then implement those. But I was always like, it's about efficiency, but also about knowing how to do things from scratch. So we're making them, and then we're like, the texture wasn't what we wanted them to be. And so I'm like, how much milk should we add? And we're just like all kind of going back and forth about how much we think. And I'm like, Curtis, tell us how much more heavy cream to add. All right, Ivy, tell me how much butter. And so together we kind of like compiled this recipe through just experiencing it. You have to be there to
That
see it. I
sounds
don't
like
know.
so much fun though,
It
with your
was.
hands.
It
Can you
was.
imagine? I mean, I would consider doing that. Like, yeah, that sounds like so much fun.
It was.
In this particular, okay, well, how about this? So, uh, you know, this is your generation. What kind of advice do you have for millennials who are eager to become an entrepreneur?
Sure. So I think how you market yourself is everything. It's going to set you apart. A good and a great business, a difference is marketing. I think that's one thing. Be well researched, know your niche, know what you want to do. I think some people are too generalist. And I think it's important to explore what you want to do and understand your business can have many phases, and you can always reinvent yourself as a business. Like, I think that's one of the coolest parts. Like, I'm launching my catering service tomorrow because I want to. So it's like there's always the freedom to explore, but I think it's important to know like what your corner is. It would be really odd if yet tomorrow I come out with like a notebook company, and I have Zaza's Kitchen. Like, it has to kind of make sense
Yeah.
for what you do and your path and what people know you for. So I think that's one thing. I think another thing, it's like important to ask for help, because even though I'm independent and solo
Yes.
founder, I can't do
Yes.
everything alone. Like,
Good for
I
you.
can't. So I just got off a meeting with one of my friends, and we have homework for each other for next week. Like, this is what I'm gonna get done. I met this girl on Instagram. She's gonna be my accountant. So there's just like you have to kind of establish your cabinet or your board. You might be
The
the head.
team. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Listen
So
to you. Accountant. Well,
yeah.
I'm so glad you brought that up. That was going to be one of my questions. And I'm just interested, no pressure, but just as a young superstar entrepreneur, uh, do you set financial goals for yourself? Do you set targets for yourself monthly or annually? How do you manifest the money
So
part?
me and goals have an interesting relationship. I think I'm like, I don't know, I feel like I could be very philosophical at how I think about things. And goals, sometimes I'm like, why am I putting expectations on myself? Because if I don't meet them, I get defeated. But now I'm understanding the importance of like short term and long term. And so I think, yeah, so I think I do want to set some goals for quarter 1 and kind of think about how the catering component of my business and the cooking class component, how can that both reach it? And I know it might look different per quarter, but I used to not do it. And I think I appreciate that I didn't, in the sense of it wasn't as much pressure on me. Like, I feel added pressure of being this baby business and having financial goals. But I think now that I know what I am, who I serve, what I do, it makes more sense for me of where I am. But I think that was kind of like that can't be the case for everybody, just depending on circumstances. So like I was kind of still in school in some of the sense of what I was doing. So it's like I didn't have to necessarily look to my business for like all of my just living expenses. And so I think that was a privilege. But also getting to where I am now, it's like, all right, you know, Zaza's Kitchen, this is what I'm doing. Like it's for real now. So
I think that's great. I understand that many young people today are still with family.
mhm,
I think that's a beautiful thing. I think I left the nest too soon, looking back. And so, I really wonder about that. Like what life would have been like if I'd really nurtured my career and been
mhm,
at home with family. I think that
mhm.
that is awesome support. So I'm glad to see that happening. But we're going to take a moment.
Okay.
We're going to go to commercial. You are here with Chef Za, and welcome to Mo Money Mondays. We're going to go to commercial, and we will be right back.
Hello, this is Najesti from Butter Me Essentials Natural Hair and Body Company. We are located in Brooklyn, New York. We are a family-owned company, which is run by my husband Vaden and I. Do you have hair that is hard to manage? Having trouble with hair growth? Is your skin always dry? No problem. Butter Me Essentials is here with the solution. We specialize in hair butters, pomades, hair elixirs, shampoos, conditioners, luxury soaps, body butters, lotion bars, perfumes, scrubs, and so much more. All of our products is made with natural and organic ingredients such as shea butter, cocoa butter, mango butter, Jamaican black castor oil, avocado oil, Oregon oil, and essential oils. There is no sulfates, petroleum, mineral oils, or parabens, just all natural goodness. If you would like to order our products, check out our website at buttermeessentials.com, buttermeessentials.com, or call 646-524-3351, 646-524-3351. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram. Remember, like our motto says, you deserve to be buttered.
Welcome back. Welcome back. You're tuned into Mo Money Mondays. And tonight we are in studio with Chef Za of Zaza's Kitchen. And so I am smitten because I've seen her food. And as soon as you check her out, you'll be just as smitten. So Chef Za, I do have another question, not to put any pressure on you, but I would love for you to speak to at 24, you've been in business for about 3 or 4 years. That's very early. What do you recommend to other young entrepreneurs that are going into business, that are pivoting their passion to, business, as far as creating a business plan?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think it's important to document everything, and I think a business plan allows for that. And for me, I'm just trying to think. Like I've made a business plan, but it's something that I think is an important reference. But the way
Yes.
I work, I think it like houses a big vision for you, and I think you have to kind of go back to that. But I think going to the short term goals, like I kind of have different ways of organizing myself around that. But I think a business plan is really important. And going back to your last statement about writing down goals, like I think that's a great way to kind of hold yourself accountable and have an outline of what finances look like.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I think a business plan is important, and I think it's just a commonly understood way of how to understand business. And if you're looking at investors, or if you're looking to get mentorship, it's like a document that is pretty um widely understood.
Yeah. Absolutely. Because if you are going to have folks invest in you, they'll always want to see that.
Mhm.
But truth be told, especially in creative business, is that business plans are really for you. They're
Yeah.
just part of the process to help you create a clearer vision of where you want to go. So you were dead on about that. I mean, I think that before we do them, we think that a business plan is going to be, an outline for my business, and then this is what I'm going to do. And in the real world, that's not usually how it happens. But they really are an amazing tool to help expand on the vision and have kind of like a platform, a base to go back to, should you ever. Now, how do you determine cost and cost control? I would imagine that now that you're experiencing goal setting, does one play into the other, based on cost of product and price?
I think it does. I think for me, I try to work backwards. So it's like, if I know this is how much I want to make in a quarter, I'm doing the math. So I'm like, this is how many catering gigs I need of this amount of people, or this is how many cooking classes I need of this kind. So I think you can just kind of plug and play. And I think it's important to be flexible in that, and knowing you can reach your number in doing a multitude of things. So there's that. And then I also think going back to, there was a point I wanted to make that kind of just slipped my mind. But going back to, you have to know your competitors. So I think understanding, like there's
part of a business plan, actually.
Like people have a kind of average cost per person of how much their cooking classes are. And so I look at that and I'm like, okay, what makes me different? I'm a Black woman. I know how to talk to people in a different way that other people may not. I know what certain people may appreciate in terms of food. Like, food is a very cultural thing. And so if I know how to get through to certain customers, I can differentiate myself. And in doing that, it's like I can, navigate my prices accordingly.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So what would you say what's been the greatest challenge being such a young entrepreneur in business?
Greatest challenge? I think figuring out how to make what I want to happen. I know what I want. It's just, okay, whose door do I knock on for this? Like, what does this mean? I think a lot of times, one of my pet peeves, people talk very generically and assume that everyone understands certain words. So like in some of my earlier days, I would consider myself a little bit of a startup. Because of the cooking classes, I kind of navigated away from that word a little bit because I felt kind of boxed in. And it was actually like, I hated that feeling because I was like, I felt so misunderstood in that business world. And I think part of it is because we spoke different languages. They're like, oh, investors, you're beta. And eventually I found out what that means and I did my research. But I think there's this kind of disconnect that happens. It's like we're all working towards similar things, but there's this kind of distancing that happens when I know how to articulate and use the right business tools and words and terms and you don't. So I think that's part of it. And then I don't think networking is hard, but I have found it interesting to like be a freelance chef and be entrepreneur and know what I need, because a lot of chefs aren't freelance, or a lot of chefs wouldn't necessarily consider themselves entrepreneurs in the same way that I do. But I feel like I'm pretty business oriented in how I try to think about things and approach Zaza's Kitchen. And so I think sometimes I feel like I'm in my own little bubble where cooking meets education, meets food justice, meets entrepreneurship. So it's a lot of overlap here. And I think part of it is just like understanding how to synthesize everything in a way that makes sense.
I love it. I love it. I want to ask you about your book.
Oh, yes.
Tell us. I know that you sold out everything but the turkey.
Actually, the new copies came in today.
Yay!
So,
I want one.
If you want to purchase one, you can.
Everything but the turkey 2. Number 2. Okay. So, I was so curious and I'm like, what does that mean?
So, okay. So 2020, I came out with an ebook called Everything But the Turkey. And so I love the title because, I don't know, I was like, size matter more than the turkey. So why are we including the turkey? And I also think it's like pretty cool because plant-based people can use it for their holidays. It's not just plant-based. I have alternatives. So like, for instance, A lot of people use like turkey meat in their black eyed peas. I don't.
Mm.
Or you can put turkey in the southern braised kale, but you don't have to, and it's still delicious. So I just wanted to provide people with a nuanced way of celebrating the holidays with soul food, but also in a way that's health conscious, but still good. Because I think sometimes we hear the word healthy and don't think it's gonna taste good. And so that's kind of where this meshes, especially for celebration food.
Oh, let's
Um,
see that. Look at this. Guys, do you see this?
this is
Oh, you look beautiful. What a
thank
great
you,
shot.
thank
Now,
you.
this was an actual dinner that cover shot.
Oh, we had a photo shoot.
Was
It
that
was-
what that was? I saw that. I just saw
Oh, you
people
saw the commercial?
gathering and food and serving. And I was
Yes.
like, she cooked for
Yeah.
Thanksgiving.
So yeah, so it was the whole photo shoot,
Oh, that's beautiful.
and then
That smile, your smile lights up a room. I have to say,
Thank
I
you.
said I had to mention your smile.
Aw,
And in all of your footage and all of your social media, it just beams through. So
oh, thank you so
definitely an
much.
asset.
Thank you. And this
Definitely an
is
asset.
more visuals, but I take all of the food photography, so that's me.
Oh,
And
that's
then
great. So what kind of equipment is necessary in order to film yourself?
you
You
can
must
use
have
an
really.
iPhone. I use
That's
my
it?
phone. No, I have a camera, but I actually use my phone more than
Yeah.
somebody would think I do. But I mean, iPhone has great cameras. I just actually got some lights that came in today. So I'm always looking, how can I improve what I'm doing? How can this be better? And so I had what do you call those? Ring lights. I had a ring light, and it just wasn't as concentrated as I wanted, because I think sometimes I film at night and it's not always, natural light. And so that's important. But I shoot with the DSLR camera, and then I have a macro lens, which is the lens people use for food. But for all of my video footage, I use my iPhone, and I actually edit my videos on the iPhone too.
That's amazing. Thank you for saying that, because it's time for a new phone, and I've been looking at those
Oh
13
yeah,
Pros.
get the iPhone 13 Pro and then download InShot, and you can edit an entire movie at your fingertips. Like
Oh my
that
goodness,
makes it,
really?
yeah,
Okay,
it makes it
Android
so
girl.
easy to edit. Yeah.
Okay, I think you might have pulled me over, because I have seen all of your footage, and
Oh, thank you.
it is really amazing. It's really, really okay. So thank you for indulging me. This has really been great.
Oh, I have to explain to you why it's called Everything But the Turkey
Oh
too.
yeah. Explain
So,
and talk about your book. I just want to know, how
okay,
did it come about?
sure. So Everything But the Turkey was this ebook I came up with. I get kind of like really in the zone when I have a project going on. So
Yeah.
I did a cookbook in 3 weeks, like a mad person. Like I'm in the kitchen, like writing down what I'm doing on paper. Like I wish I still had some of this paper. Like it had food all over it. I'm like taking notes. That's how I do it. I cook as I take notes. So I'm like going crazy in the kitchen, and I came out with this book, and I'm very proud of that book, because I got the idea, and then I just executed it like the next day. And so that did really well. It was an ebook, and people were like, we want a physical book. We want a physical book. But I wasn't really in a place to even think about publishing. I'm like, I just wanted to make this accessible to you all, put it in a PDF, put it on my website, call it a day. But I was teetering the idea of a cookbook, because I'm like, like, should I do it? Should I do it? I'm very happy I did it. But this one is called Everything But the Turkey too, because it features recipes from the original cookbook, which did not have this visual. It was a different cover. And then I like,
Now wait, is that a hard cover, or is it?
oh
It's a
yeah, it's
paperback.
hard.
It's a hard cover. Oh wow, that's fantastic. Okay, where can we find the book?
So you can get it on zazaskitchen.com.
Okay, and how much is the book?
The book is $34.99.
Thank you very much. Well worth it. I have seen the food.
Thank you. And one quick thing, it features recipes from the old one and the new one. So there's a section called savory. So
see, I love the beans. Okay, those look yummy.
And then there's sweet. I just kind of segmented it into 2 different things.
And when did your book come out? Savory and sweet. I love it. I love it. When did you publish?
I published it like October, like Halloween weekend.
Of 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So she's been in business. Guys, do you hear this? We're talking entrepreneur business here. She's been in business since 2018. 3 years later, she's published a cookbook. She is teaching. She's curating. It's pretty amazing.
Thank you.
Okay, here I'm going to throw one out. We haven't talked about this, but it's something that I always talk about with clients. So, what does that 10-year plan look like for you? Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
I honestly see myself with continuing doing what I'm doing, just scaling it. Like, I'm doing it. Teaching cooking classes.
You're doing it. You're doing it.
Thank you. No, I know it's like 10 years. So where are we going with this? So cooking classes, I really hold really dear to my heart. And I think a huge reason that I'm doing them is to make healthy eating more accessible. Like, I think that's really the root of my business is food justice. So it's, yes, I love to cook, but I also feel like if more people knew how to cook things maybe outside of their comfort zone, things that were healthier, not always eating the same types of things and including more produce in their diet, we could see a curve in diabetes and heart disease and obesity and all these food-related health disparities that are affecting the Black and Brown community. And I think a lot of how we approach food, it's historical and it's also by design. And so I think we're at a point where people are understanding, the powers that be and how that affects different institutions, and food is an institution that's affected by it. Nobody really talks about it, but when it's, the pandemic and there's no food on the grocery stores, that's when we understand it and we see how really it affects us. But I think because it's a part of our day-to-day life, like we're not really understanding how, we don't have Lidl and Aldi and Trader Joe's and Whole Foods in the south side of Atlanta, but it is in a Buckhead. So I think really sharing that big picture and then using cooking as a way to kind of combat that and combat those, social ills, I feel like that plague the Black and Brown community. I feel like that can be attacked through teaching people how to cook, literally. And so I want to have classes where I'm doing that, making it accessible, making it cost-friendly to people who need it the most. Because right now, I think, people who are taking advantage of it, they enjoy it, but I don't think they're the people who are in dire need of like lifestyle shifts. So
yeah, and there's a different relationship to the folks that they are trying to help. So
exactly.
Okay, you've got this cookbook. Okay, riddle me this. I know, right? Can you share? I know that you have some faves. ZK's faves, and they're called. See, I know, right? Share some of your favorites. We've got a few minutes. Got about 5 minutes before we wrap. Share some of your favorites.
Recipes.
Yeah.
Okay, so in this cookbook, I personally love black eyed peas, and I just made them for New Year's, and I used this recipe, and I was like, oh my gosh, these are so good. So black eyed peas, I really, really love the sweet potato cornbread. That's probably one of the most popular recipes in here. And also my macaroni and cheese. Like, I ate macaroni and cheese so much as a little kid, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm sick of it. But mine is amazing. I took a lot of time to develop the recipe because I think it's something that we all want to make and love, but some people just can't get it right. So I did the homework for us all, and I go through phases. So I'm like, all right, let's buy all the cheese in the store and let's develop this recipe. And I've cooked it a lot of times to know the do's and don'ts of this macaroni. So macaroni and cheese is a ZK fave. And then I have another cookbook, which I'm going to re-release on my website. This one is an ebook. It's called Chefs, Lovers, and Friends. It's kind of like a Valentine's theme.
Oh, yeah.
Lover at the house, have it in, COVID safe date night. And so there's a recipe in there called balsamic glazed lamb chops, which is one of my favorites. So if you know balsamic vinegar, you know how acidic it is. But when you reduce it, it
Oh,
gets really sweet.
beautiful.
So it's like this
Mhm.
kind of
It's like a
sticky.
glaze.
Yeah, it's really, really
Yeah.
nice. So that's one of my personal favorites. And then I'm doing some private chef events. So that will be what I do for Valentine's Day. And then I'm also a big fan, a huge ZK fave of brown butter lemon salmon. That's a pan-seared salmon with brown butter and lemon sauce. It's super simple.
Mm,
I teach it in a
mm.
lot of cooking classes. A lot of people don't know how to make salmon. And so I think it's a really fun way to show people like you can elevate salmon and you can learn how to blacken it, in one recipe. So
Thank
there's
you.
that.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. And thank you for, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just going to be really blunt. It's salmon. It's not salmon. Okay. So thank you for that. We're going to teach you here.
Yes,
Compliments
exactly.
of
Food literacy.
Zaza's Kitchen. It's salmon. It's not salmon.
Right.
So wait, I want you to back up because you were talking about Valentine's Day and it's like a month away. We are
Yes.
almost there. A really wonderful holiday for lovers and friends. And you have something special happening. So go ahead, do tell.
Yes, so I am launching my catering service. So that's coming up. I'm super excited. I feel like a lot of people are always DMing me like I want to try your food and I'm like I don't do that. So now is the time for me to be able to really cook for people in a way in which people in Metro Atlanta can make it accessible. And who knows, maybe I'll be shipping one day and maybe people can like
I see it.
purchase my food and warm it up for themselves.
I
But
see it.
yeah, so thank you, thank you. And
I
so I'm
definitely
excited
see
about
it.
that. I used to cook for people back in college, and now I'm kind of inching my way back into that world. And I think it's always really fun and a great way for people to experience it in a very real time way. So I'm excited about that. And I'll be posting way more on my social media. So make sure you all follow me on Instagram at Zaza's Kitchen. It's Zazas Kitchen. And then I'm also on YouTube. So that's Zaza's Kitchen as well. And on YouTube, I post vlogs and recipe tutorials. And I pride myself that my recipe tutorials are pretty short. They're not super long, drawn out. I don't do those long introductions. Like we get straight to the point. And I'm explaining it through every process. I think that's a huge part of my brand. Like I like
Yeah.
to over explain because some people don't know very simple things. So making cooking accessible for people is important. And then on Instagram, it's mainly like event updates and what I'm up to and recipes as well. So make sure y'all follow me. And
I love it.
thank you. Thank
I
you.
found it really, really inspiring and engaging that you like take us through your process, on the way, the faux pas and the successes while you're creating a recipe. I just thought that was really, really engaging and smart. And I enjoyed it. And
Thank
I lost
you.
time watching you.
Uh,
I
well,
literally lost time. I'm like, okay, what are we doing now? Okay, that didn't work. Okay, we're not doing that. Okay, we're gonna keep doing this. Okay, ooh, that looks nice. I was in the kitchen with
thank you.
you.
I have to do more vlogs then. I have to do more
You do.
vlogs.
You
That
have to
type
do
of
more
thing
vlogs.
happens so much, but
It was
I don't
great.
show it.
It was great. I mean, I really I know you. I know you now. Okay, I know you.
Thank you.
I do think. Thank you so much for coming on and talking about, the Zaza Kitchen business.
Thank
I
you for
really
having me. I've had
appreciate that.
a lot of fun, and I don't think I've been able to talk about my business in this kind of way. And so I'm very honored that you had me. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. So we're gonna take it. We're gonna take it out. We're gonna wrap
Okay.
with. Are we gonna wrap with? Let me ask my producers. Are we gonna wrap with a little bit of her YouTube? I wanted to see if I could show a clip. Okay, we're gonna show a clip. So guys,
Great.
you have been here with Chef Za, featured from Zaza's Kitchen. She is young, millennial entrepreneur, smart, talented. Do follow her at zazaskitchen.com. She's everywhere. She's all over social media. We're going to take you into a little bit of her. Thank you for joining Mo Money Mondays here on All About Us Radio. We are kicking off the year really strong, really solid. So we will see you again next Monday, same time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Trying to figure out how I want to plate it still, but fried chicken, French toast, and orange. I really like how this looks. I don't love this piece of fried chicken. So the first version of the French toast was a sweet potato French toast where I made a custard using sweet condensed milk and then of course sweet potatoes. So there I peeled them, boiled them with some cinnamon and ginger, and then mashed them also with some egg yolk and my spices like chai spice, sugar, cinnamon, nutmeg, vanilla extract, all that jazz. I used challah bread, but what I didn't like about this one was like it got this weird burnt texture, and I think partially it's because the mashed potato was in the custard. So I went back to the drawing board and came up with the final dish.
Oh, that looks so yummy.
That one tasted really good. It wasn't visually not pleasing.
Oh, it looks so good.
So if you all can see the outer crust of the French toast, that is the part that I didn't like. But I absolutely love the strawberry rhubarb summer salad that I came up with. But honestly, that piece of fried chicken just was turning me off. I tried wingettes, I tried bigger pieces, but I decided to go for bites because I think it matched how cute the French toast was beginning to look in honesty. And so what y'all just saw was the final form of the French toast.
That was that rhubarb. It's like celery.
It is. That is basically what it is.
Really?
Y'all got a food disposal, right?
You're so candid.
I didn't know it looked like red celery.
Uh-huh.
I learn something every day. Learn something every day.
Did you like how I cut it yesterday?
Yeah, I think you should try it like how you said you wanted to try it.
This is one of my bros.
I
tried it. I think
Great
I like this
It's
better.
better.
I think that's great.
But I feel
People
like
in the kitchen.
this is harder to
Give
cut.
me so much feedback. He was
It's
my
very
taste
hard to
tester.
What a lucky friend.
I know. No, my friends, they taste test. They're my taste
So
testers.
here I'm making the macerated strawberry rhubarb with ginger. I do a little bit of vinegar in it. Yes, you heard
That was
vinegar.
Vinegar.
Strawberry rose vinegar to be exact. Some sugar, hibiscus sugar from Beautiful
I saw it in the
Brownie, sea
grocery store
salt.
and the flavor
So it
profile.
came together so nicely. It was
I
so
was like,
fun to
I'll
make,
try
and I
it.
just kept adding new things
Very
to
smart.
it. Honestly, every time I made it. And by the time the competition came, I just loved how it turned out. The texture, the color, the thickness, the pieces were hitting. Okay, it's gonna be like it's just not so good.
Yeah, it's so refreshing.
Thank you.
It's like
This is vinegar.
like I said, it really gave me festive, but then it also gave me like springtime too because it's so refreshing.
Okay, abrupt stopped. There you go, though. Thank you so much. Again, Chef Za of Zaza's Kitchen. It's been a pleasure. And I hope you'll come back. Maybe we'll check in with you in about a year. The next
Oh, that would be fun. That would be fun.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Progress update. Yeah.
Progress update. Thank you so much. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Okay, guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Vonda of the Jameson Legacy. You've been tuned in to Mo Money Mondays here on All About Us Radio. Stay safe, stay woke, and live each day with intention.
You're listening to All About Us Radio. We're live streaming 24/7, playing old school versus new school. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at AAU Media, and visit our website, www.aaumedia.com. Call us at 1-833-369-1444, extension 1, and leave us an inspirational message or request. You're listening to All About Us Radio.